Welcome to the YMCA Swim School Revamp video. We're gonna do this short and sweet. This is in place of the in-service that we were going to have last week. The goal is to ensure that all of you know all of the additional skills and how they're actually taught and what we mean by some of the things we added. So, quick overview first. Obviously we changed the main skills and additional skills just to be one big list of main skills. The point of that was for simplicity. Hopefully you find that to be true. We also wanted to clarify whether things needed to be independent, with instructor assistance, or with flotation. So you will notice that in all of our levels too, that things are a little bit more clarified. Starting in otter level, everything is independent. So we no longer wrote independent for every single skill, it just is independent across the board starting in otter. The main goals, our program has always been focused on safety. That is still true to this day. One thing that we sort of added is more of a focus in those upper levels on getting those students ready either for swim team or getting them ready for the lifeguard class. So you'll notice, especially in shark, some of the skills that we added are focused on trying to get those kids ready for those two avenues. Water Safety Day, we are going to be bringing that back, so that'll be fun. On this flow chart, the green section is all of the safety stuff. Safety rules, that type of thing should be talked about throughout your lessons, every single lesson, but we will be having still a main safety day in which we bring up more of the throw, don't go stuff and have more of a real life, what would you actually do in this situation? So that'll be kind of a fun thing coming this session. Few other things. Head position is one thing we haven't talked a ton about in the past, but it really is a key to being successful in swimming. Especially in that guppy level, if you're trying to swim 4 feet and your head is up, your feet always drop. The same thing happens in every single skill in all of the levels. So head position's key. Just keep that in the back of your mind through every single level. You want to be paying attention to the student's head, whether it should be down, whether it should be turned, where it should be. So that's kind of the big overview. On this flow chart, you guys should have already taken one. We did specify the key skills, and so those are underlined. So for example, in guppy, it's still very important for them to learn how to swim 4 feet. So that is underlined, as in all of the levels through turtle, the key things are underlined. That's the quick overview. We're gonna jump into guppy.
Okay, so we are going to jump into guppy. There are not a lot of changes for guppy, but we did add some things. So as in for front floats, we want to do it for 5 seconds now on our front. Back float, same thing, 5 seconds with the instructor, making sure that they're comfortable. And then I would say another thing, independently kicking legs. So that can be with an instructor, that can be on the side, it can be on the platform. Just as long as we get them to kick their legs, that is what we're looking for. And then before, it was independently swimming 4 feet. We added with the face in the water because that is one thing that we really want to push kids into, especially when we get into the upper levels. So that is guppy.
The head position for guppy is exactly what we're talking about with that 4 foot swim, making sure their face is in. It's all about that head position. With kicking legs in starfish, we'll just jump right into starfish. You'll notice that it's now flutter kick. So in guppy, if it's a bicycle kick, if it's still kind of a wacky kick, that's fine. In starfish is where we really want to be focusing on flutter kick. So more of that straight leg, flowing kick, not a crazy kick.
Yeah, perfect. So starfish then, now we're gonna go into more independence. So independent front float, we're gonna do for 5 seconds. Reason being, we want their face in the water, but we also don't want them to be holding their breath for too long. And then independent back float is going to be for 10 seconds. So just really pushing that independence on their back. Again, another safety thing. For starfish, we've introduced, we're going to introduce talk to the fishies and listen to the fishies, just to kind of get kids used to that side breathing a little bit sooner, at least that motion. So with doing this, what we're going to do is literally tell them to blow some bubbles, talk to the fishies. Do we want them to do it out of their nose?
It doesn't matter.
Okay,
Nose or mouth.
doesn't matter, nose or mouth. So we're gonna talk to the fishies, and then when we listen, we are going to turn our head, and we're gonna actually practice to both sides. So I'm going to demonstrate. And then I'm gonna listen to the fishy.
Talk to the fishy. Listen to the fishy. Talk to the fishy. Listen to the fishy.
And we wanna do that 5 times. And
I'm just gonna jump in quick. That is something, if you want to introduce blowing bubbles that way in guppy, by all means go for it. Starfish is where we truly want them to do it that way to pass.
perfect. And then we've got flutter kick with rollover from front to back and back to front while traveling 5 yards with instructor support or flotation device. So we can use floaties. Some of you like the barbells, or if you want to try it without someone, feel free. Do you want me to demonstrate this?
No, we just found with barbells was sometimes clunky. Not every kid got it that way. And so we wanted it to be written in a way where it could be flotation device, up to you, which one works better, or instructor assistance. So the body position and the kid moving is the biggest thing. What type of assistance they get is gonna vary from kid to kid.
Good input.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so next we are going to move into Froggy. So we've got something we added is stationary sculling. So this is just an introduction into treading water. So arm-wise, go in, back out, in and out. We just want them to get that basic arm movement down. Their feet can be on the ground, or if they want and are able to, they can kick their feet as well.
The introduction to treading water. A lot of times I teach this kind of frosting a cake with your arms. So that's the part that we want them to learn in Froggy.
Perfect. And then we've got something new is an underwater front horizontal wall push-off with a glide and kicking for 2.5 yards. So what I will do is I will demonstrate that. So there's always a couple different ways to teach it. How I would teach it is placing their hands on the bar here. Feet are going to be up against the wall. We are going to push off and go underwater. Doesn't matter if the hands are up here in a streamline or if they're down below. I'm just going to demonstrate it with my arms in a down below actually. Okay, so ready and
Yeah, so with that, the idea is horizontal is what we care about, and the push-off. Like Katie mentioned, arms like this, arms like this, arms like this. Doesn't particularly matter. It's horizontal, push-off.
awesome. Okay, so then another skill that we have that we added is independent flutter kick on front with alternating arm movements. The reason for this one is kind of the gap between Froggy and Turtle. We never introduced arms, and we just wanted it to be a more smoother transition. So then that way kids aren't coming into Turtle not knowing how to at least move their arms in the right way. So I will demonstrate this one as well. Honestly, we just want them in that horizontal body position, facing the water, and then we're gonna just teach them to move their arms. So it'll look something like this.
I'll demonstrate what it'll actually look quite a bit more splashy. I probably won't really scoop, and it'll be a little bit more like that, which is fine. The idea is getting those arms alternating and moving.
That was great.
Katie's too good at this one. Final skill in Froggy then is the kicking on back with alternating arm movements. Essentially, this is introduction to back crawl. We have really liked how kids, when they move from Froggy as a very, very, very strong kicker on their back, in Turtle immediately catch on to back crawl. And so we don't want introducing these arms to be done incorrectly. We really do want to focus on teaching it correctly. And so that is why it says with the flotation device or with instructor assistance, we do want everyone to teach it with the barbell first. So truly teaching thumb up, touch the ear, pinky in. So teach it that way. If the kids don't fully understand it, that's fine in Froggy. Once you kind of lose the barbell and they just kind of get into this type of motion, that's fine for Froggy. Turtle is where it needs to be done perfectly, but we want it taught perfectly in Froggy. Turtle is short and sweet. We're still focusing on front crawl, back crawl, and elementary backstroke. We added a couple skills, more so to be able to distinguish between what they can do and can't do. So if they can do that independent back or breaststroke kick on their back, so that is the elementary backstroke kick, if they can do it on their back but they don't quite understand the whole chicken airplane soldier for the whole entire stroke, you can at least check off that they understand the kick if they do. That's really the biggest difference with Turtle, is adding a couple little defining skills, but the main skills stay the same. That's it. Otter. Again, not a ton of changes here. Standing dive from pool edge with little or no assistance. Elementary backstroke, still increasing that to 25 yards. Treading water for a full minute. We did define retrieving multiple objects from 4.5 feet of water. So you'll notice in the levels, it's from platform, from pool bottom, from 3.5 feet, from 4.5 feet. Pay attention to that depth. Forward somersault with assistance. So this is an introduction to that flip turn. Basically, with assistance, everyone probably should be able to get that skill done. It's where you just help them do the somersault in the water. We don't care about it being next to the wall, that type of stuff yet. Just can they do the somersault so that when they get to seal, they are ready for that flip turn. Underwater front horizontal wall push-off, a glide, and kicking. So we have done this skill before, but now we are adding the transition to swimming on surface. So Katie will demonstrate this. So she goes underwater, pushes off, she glides, and then she starts swimming. So she started with breaststroke, then did front crawl, kind of however you want to teach it. But yeah, have them transition into that swimming. Front crawl, 25 yards, backstroke, 25 yards. Breaststroke kick. The biggest thing here is we defined what that should look like, that bilateral symmetry. Breaststroke arms, a true skull out and a skull in, keeping those shoulders, or the hands in front of the shoulders. So this type of movement. Can you see that, or do I need to back up? I'll back up. So pulling out, pulling in. Skull out, skull in, skull out, skull in. So very similar to the treaded water, skull out, skull in, that stationary sculling, very similar. Now that breaststroke pull out and in. That's otter. Oh wait, no, I forgot one thing. Dolphin kick, that was there before too. Now again, just defining that the legs and feet needs to stay together. It can be on the surface or it can be underwater. That's it.
All right, so now we are moving on to seal. So I'm just gonna read everything that we have here because a lot of things we added to. So we've got scissor kick for 25 yards.
So we used to just teach it as side stroke. We've now broken it down into scissor kick in one level, the whole side stroke in the next level.
All right, now we have flip turn for front crawl.
So same as what was taught before, we do want them swimming into the wall. When they get to the wall, doing that flip and pushing up. So I will demonstrate. Swimming into the wall.
Look at that nice flip turn.
And pushing up.
Good job.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, the next skill we have is rollover stroke and flip turn for backstroke.
So we did want to specify actually rolling over in that stroke. So if they're doing back crawl, right here, this is the rollover stroke before they get to the wall. Right here, the rollover stroke, and then they flip. So you would have them learning to count from the flags. 1, 2, roll over, and push up.
That was another good one from Heather. All right, next skill we have is underwater on back, horizontal wall push-off, glide, kick on the back for 5 yards, and transition to swimming on the surface.
So the point of that is if they don't understand the rollover stroke and the whole flip part, this is at least part of that. So it's the idea of starting at the wall, going underwater, and pushing up. So similar to this.
Okay, next what we have is front crawl with bilateral side breathing with turn at the wall for 50 yards.
So bilateral compared to both sides is kind of the distinguishing thing here. So when somebody can breathe to both sides, that means independently of each other. So say they're going this way, if they can breathe to the left, awesome. They're breathing to the left, so they are breathing to one side. Then let's teach them to breathe to the other side. So now they are breathing to the other side. So that means that they do have the ability to breathe to both sides. Some kids get stuck and all they can do is breathe one way and they don't understand how to breathe the other way. That's why we want to distinguish, yes, they have the ability to breathe to both sides in otter and before. Now that we're in seal, we're focusing on bilateral. So bilateral means breathing to the left, face in for 2 strokes, then breathe to the right. Face in for 2 strokes, breathe to the left. Okay.
Awesome. All right, backstroke with turn at the wall for 50.
So ideally we'd have them doing a flip turn, but the whole point of this is they can do 50 yards continuously. They get to a wall, they turn, and they go back.
And then this is probably one of the bigger changes that people will notice. Now for seal, we have continuous swimming using front crawl, backstroke, and or breaststroke for 150 yards, where before it was 300. We knocked that down to 150 yards.
Yep.
Okay. And then we have breaststroke all together for 25 yards, so that didn't change. We have dolphin kick on the front for 15 meters and dolphin kick on the back for 15 meters. Heather will explain why we chose those distances.
So 15 meters as opposed to 15 yards. 15 meters is actually the legal distance in competitive swimming for how long you can kick underwater before you have to surface and start your stroke to not get disqualified. It is 15 meters, not 15 yards, even if you're swimming in a yard pool. That point is the little yellow disc on our lane lines, the farthest away from where you're starting. So if you're starting in the shallow end, it's the little yellow disc closer to the deep end. That's the 15 meters. This does not mean that we want them underwater for a full 15 meters. This means that we want them to be doing dolphin kick for 15 meters. If they're fast and efficient, fine if they're underwater the whole time, but it is not a breath-holding contest.
And then the last skill, this didn't change. We have timing of butterfly arms, breathing, and kick. And that's seal.
Alright, shark, last but not least. Dive start off the block, still there. Side stroke, 25 yards. We had done the kick in seal, now it's the whole stroke. Swim 20 yards, grab a brick from the pool bottom, and then kick on your back. This may sound familiar for those of you who are lifeguards. This is one of the pre-test skills to become a lifeguard. That's the point of shark now, is to get these students ready to be a lifeguard. The next skill, treading water for 2 minutes, 1 minute without the use of hands. Again, prepping them for the lifeguard class. Open turn for breaststroke and butterfly. Open turn is when you come into the wall, it's a 2-hand touch, and then you elbow somebody, so you pull your elbow down, and then you put your hands together and push off underwater. Open turn means you're not doing the flip turn, but it's a fast version of a turn for competitive swimming. So you come into the wall, touch.
Glasses and all.
There, got him.
Add my funny part in there.
Okay, so for an open turn, we brought in the expert in order to explain this. That's why this is spliced in. I did it wrong the first time. So, open turn, gimme.
When you do an open turn, you're gonna swim to the wall, you're gonna touch it with 2 hands, you're gonna bring your elbow back like you're elbowing someone you don't like, and then you're gonna call someone you do like, so your arm's gonna go over the water, and then you're gonna turn, and then you're gonna push off. Heather is gonna demonstrate.
Better? Yes. Fantastic, that's open turns. Okay, front crawl with flip turns, bilateral breathing again. Individual medley, so this is those 4 strokes combined. This is butterfly for 25, backstroke for 25, breaststroke for 25 yards, and then finally freestyle for 25 yards. Backstroke with flip turns and underwater kicking. We've already reviewed that, it's now 100 yards. Continuous swimming using front crawler breaststroke for 300 yards. Again, a lifeguard skill. Breaststroke with open turn for 50 yards. The open turn I just showed you. The idea is, can they do this for down and back with breaststroke? Dolphin kick on front and back. We just talked about this in SEAL. I said it was not a breath holding contest. It is still not a breath holding contest, but we do want them to be able to do that dolphin kick underwater for 5 yards of the 15 meters. They should be able to do that at this point without running out of breath, especially if they are efficient with that kick and doing it correctly. Finally, butterfly, actually completing a full 25 yards. In SEAL, it was just the timing. Do they understand how to coordinate everything together? Now we want them to do 25 yards. That's shark. Hopefully you understand all these levels. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. We just wanted to create something short and sweet here so you could watch it on your own time and hopefully not be exposed to more COVID cases and have to quarantine. So this is our solution to make it easy for you to learn and see the skills. The end.